Shalom, 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 yes, Yahweh, shalom, shalom, shalom. Shirelli Yawana representing the Warriors for Yahushai Michigan Camp. This is the TikTok update. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. Salaki, it's so late. Had to go get some blood. I think it was like earlier this week, and it took me a little longer to recover. But hey, man, we back here, pushing this truth, pushing the edification. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. So there is so much going on in the world, man. All right, and every single time we do these lessons, we're doing this to warn our people, man, to get the bloods off that blood off our hands, man. All right, so let me see if I can get that scripture because that's a beautiful opener, because that's the whole reason that we warn our people, man, because it is a lot of things that's coming, that's going to happen in this society, man. A lot of our people, they have no idea what's in store for 2026. All right, so we're going to get Ezekiel chapter 3, and we're going to start it from 17. Okay, let's get it from 16. And it came to pass at the end of 7 days that the word of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai came unto me, saying, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. So the Lord, Yahweh, all right, who the world Italy calls Yahweh, God, okay, and his son, Yahweh Shai, who the worldly called Jesus Christ, all right, have set up certain men to go out to the highways and byways to teach this truth, the elders and apostles of great millstone in the like-minded camps. Okay, our job as Israelite men, all right, is to go out there and warn the people, okay, to tell the house of Israel and these heathen nations, what's to come. Ezekiel 3:18. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. So if you are a man in this truth, you know the scriptures, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from the elders and apostles of great millstone in the like-minded camps. Your job as a man, all right, of the Lord, is to push this truth, man, throughout the four corners of the earth, whether it be, doing sit-down lessons, walking talks, driving talks, whether it be, highways and byways, telling family members of things to come or friends, certain people, to warn them. All right, that's getting that blood off our hands. But if we don't tell them and we don't warn them, of things like the MOTB, which is the mark, the Neuralink, you don't warn them about the Civil War, the race wars, the gang wars to come. If you don't warn them about, the mass chaos, the dollar crashing, society going into total blackout, okay? If you don't warn them, they won't know, okay? Because these Christians aren't warning them. The Catholics aren't warning them. The Muslims, these different heathen religions, they're not warning the people of what's to come. So if you don't warn the people, what's to come. That blood is on your hands, all right? Yet if thou warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. So literally, you deliver yourself by pushing this truth and telling the people and warning them of what's to come. All right, let me get another scripture that go into this. Okay. All right. So this is Revelations 2:19. I know thy works in charity and service and faith, by patience in thy works, and the last to be more than the first. You see? So you, by going out there to the highways and byways, how about Shimi Awashai is telling you, he's watching you, he sees the work that you do, he sees the lessons you do, the highways and byways, out there in the cold, windy days, broken phones, lost equipment. The Lord sees, when these heathens come up to you, or when 2/3 is, pushing you. All right. But literally, by us going out to the highways and byways, that's us showing faith. All right. You're showing faith, that you believe in this thing. All right. That you're showing faith that you trust in Yahweh Shemi Awashai, man. All right. So this is First Peter 4:8, and it says, above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. So literally, by you doing these lessons, you're covering the multitude of sins. All right, you're redeeming yourself. You're getting that blood off your hands. All right. So let's get into some of these things that's going on, and Lord willing, that's edifying. So let's get it.
US right now. This is the AI roundup, and are getting paused all over the US right now. This is the AI roundup, and I just searched data center moratorium in the news tab, and look at all these articles. This goes on for a while. North Carolina, Michigan, Colorado, to name a few. And it looks like it is getting harder for data center developers to just quietly walk right into a community without any sort of scrutiny. A year ago, even 6 months ago, you would not see this. And now cities and counties are taking a break to research AI data centers before they take any action. Now, I know this has got to be frustrating for people who live where these are popping up at the speed of light. Texas, for example, is the #2 state for these. The reality is, for some cities, the people elected, remember, I said elected to represent you, they've already got their mind made up. They've signed the NDAs, and they're going to approve that project no matter what, because they want to make the town a data center town, no matter the cost. But they can't say anymore that they don't know or try and talk down the impact of these facilities, because the word's out already all across the country. This is a story about why community involvement matters. This does not happen without communities demanding transparency and action from their elected leaders. Data centers are getting paused all over the US right now. This is
2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan shall get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We're not ignorant of these different tools and devices that Esau Edom is trying to set up. All right, in that power of the spiritual demon Satan, man. Esau Edom wants to set up a satanic, demonic world where everyone is ran by transhumanism. Every single man, woman, and child has a chip in their hand or in their brain. He wants to totally crash the dollar, totally crash the grid, and make society a digital society. Okay, they want to build up these 10-minute neighborhoods, or I forgot how they say it, 5-minute cities, whatever. They want cameras and surveillance everywhere. Okay, these devils, they want society to be ran in a very wicked way. Okay, let me get another one. All right. So let's get this scripture right here, because this is fire. All right. Man. Salakia. Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, if not where, and who is he? So the world is ran by the wicked, Esau Edom, the so-called white man. He's in charge of, the different businesses, the different companies. He's in charge of the different things that happen to your water, your food. He's in charge of the different chemicals that's, going into your laundry detergents, your soap, your toothpaste, your shampoo, your body wash. We're the so-called black man, Latino, Native American man. We're not behind any of this. Okay, we don't have any power. The heathen nations, the Arabs, the so-called Chinese, they don't have the power. The one that's in charge right now is Esau, even the so-called white man. All right, let me get this scripture going into that too. Man. Psalm 75:8, for in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he poureth out the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. So, Esau Edom is winning right now. They're at the top of their game. They're feeling on the level. But very soon they're going to be brought down. They're going to be at the bottom. Okay, this society, this rulership, everything that these damn devils done built is going to crumble, man. They're going to have to drink the cup of slavery. They're going to have to drink the cup of being poor. They're going to have to drink the cup of being hated, despised. Okay? Psalms 82:4, deliver the poor and needy. Rid them out of the hand of the wicked. Who's the wicked? Esau Edom. Who's the poor and the needy of the earth? The so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, the Hebrew Israelites. We're the ones in the ghettos, the projects, the hoods. We're the ones, that need extra help and extra benefits. We're the ones that work all damn day, but still not bringing home nothing. Okay, you're the workers, all right, the cashiers, the drivers, the gardeners, all right, the construction workers. We're the ones that's building this country, yet we're not profiting at all. All right, let's get this.
Actually now being reported as a February, fuck the news. It is actually now being reported as a February 2026 that DHS and the Trump administration are asking social media companies to report anybody who has ICE, anti-Department of Homeland Security, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement messaging on their social media apps. So they've asked Reddit, Instagram, Google, anything you could possibly think of. They're asking them to report these persons' profiles and start monitoring their activity and report it to DHS. U.S. Department of Homeland Security requests Google, Reddit, Instagram, and Facebook to provide names and phone numbers and other identifying information of users who criticize. Now, when I saw this initial post, I was like, let me go fact check this. This is 100% true. So for all my fellow anti-fucking terrorist people out here, you can still walk, bro. It's flashing. Yeah, we're all on a list. Ain't that right?
Yeah, been on a list.
Yeah, no, we're really on the list now. So I'm letting you know now, if you post anything that's anti-DHS, just be careful fucking with them. Because we know from a video that was recently posted that they will hunt you down, literally, and send people to your house and then put you in the system as a hostile terrorist.
An active threat.
Yeah, so just be careful. Well, breaking fuck the news.
We said this day would come, man. The elders and apostles of Great Millstone said this day would come. The videos of edification, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, all right, they're going to come after the elect of Israel. They're going to come after those that are against the system. They're going to come after those that are, in their own beliefs. If you're not with Trump, you're not with America, you're not with the USA and what they're pushing, hey, you're going to be on the list, man. Don't forget the elders and apostles of Great Millstone warned us of the mailboxes, the red dot, blue dot, yellow dot. Okay? These devils are going to come and get you at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Bust up your door and try to put you in there, man, in a concentration camp. They put you on one bus, your woman on the bus, and your kid on another. 2 Esdras 16:68. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you, feed you being idle with things offered unto idols. So they're going to try to put you in the camp. All right, they're pissed off. They're mad. They want to come after the elect of Israel. These elites, they're getting old, man. They don't have time. They have to implement their plans. Project 2025, Agenda 2030. All these plans have to go through. And they that consent unto them should be had in derision and reproach and underfoot and try to underfoot. So if you down with this system, you down with the grid, you accept anything Esau Edom do, you take the chit, you do whatever this damn devil tell you to do, you're going to be trodden down. You're going to be destroyed by Esau Edom, by these UN troops, by these damn devils, man. For there should be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So everywhere you look, Esau Edom is going to implement drones, robo-dogs, UN troopers, army men, National Guard, whatever you can muster up to round up the Israelites, to put you in the camp, to round up the people that's against this system. It says they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then it shall be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. So literally, they're going to be coming in like madmen. They're going to be breaking in your house, going crazy, trying to round you up. They're not going to care about if you're young, old, a woman, a child, okay? They're going to try to come after you, man. This is 2nd Ezra 16 and 71. 74. Hear, O you my beloved, said the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand. What days of trouble? Jacob's trouble. Your pastor's not telling you about that. These different people, they're not telling you about that. Why are they not telling you? Okay, because they know very soon all hell is going to break loose, man. All right, they want to have you caught off guard. All right, let's get some more.
Lawsuit is crazy. So if you've ever used YouTube, which I know you have, you're definitely really going to want to hear this. Apparently, YouTube was tracking what kids were watching and selling that information to third-party companies so they could send the children targeted ads. Super illegal. This case covers almost a decade, so this was happening when me and you were kids. The good thing is that everyday users like me and you can apply to be a part of the lawsuit and get compensated. You can see if you're eligible using the Claimhood Class Action Lawsuit app. Just take a short quiz to see if you qualify and then apply right.
I'm a financial expert, and the question that I've been getting the most over the past couple months or so is when will things return to normal in terms of the economy and money? And it's a really hard question to answer because I don't think the normal that people are thinking of will ever exist again. And I want to talk about 5 current things happening in the economy that has happened really in 2025 that I think will continue in 2026, and how to be thinking about kind of your money and the economy going forward. So I think the biggest story of 2025 was the prosperity paradox, or the Vibe session, where the economy looked great on paper or in headlines, like the stock market did well. There's relatively low unemployment. There was positive GDP growth. But if you talk to most people, they were struggling financially. The prices, because of inflation going up, was really hurting a lot of people's wallets. We experienced a K-shaped recovery where rich people were doing great and everybody else was struggling. So the economy was quote unquote working on paper, but not for most people. And so then you get the second trend, which is the affordability lockout, where you have these high prices that have really not kept up with wage growth. And on top of that, while inflation has stayed pretty steady around between 2 or 3% over the past year, the actual cost for daily goods and services has gone up way more than that. If you think about groceries, car insurance, utilities, etc. And that disproportionately hurts people that are lower income because they are spending a larger amount of their paychecks on daily goods and services. So their budgets are getting hurt. They're feeling the stress more. And on top of that, the other big thing is the job market. And I think most people are aware of how just weird and frozen the job market has been. It's no hire and no fire, though layoffs are starting to pick up, which I think we'll continue to see into 2026. And on top of that, people that are all looking for jobs right now know how horrible it feels with AI, where they're just applying to dozens and dozens of jobs and not hearing back. And it's just been kind of this overall shit show. And the third big story of 2025 that I think we will see continue into 2026 is the casinofication of everything. And I'm talking about prediction markets, sports betting, other types of gambling, etc. When wealth building becomes impossible or just feels very difficult for people, the system is not going to make it more accessible. It just encourages gambling. And I think we see this mass normalization of gambling-like activities, and how so much of investing or just making money these days is built around betting and taking these very high risk, potentially high reward activities, aka gambling. The fourth story is bankification, which I've talked about before if you follow me. It's this idea that every company is a bank now, or is trying to offer financial services because the margins are very good. And we see this kind of almost embedded finance in all of our activities, where you can now store your money in almost every company. Think about Starbucks or airlines. And a lot of it is designed to be extracting to kind of separate you from your money. And I think we're going to see the continued use of these types of, financial technology in the space, where people will have to navigate kind of all these different mini financial systems throughout their daily lives. And the fifth thing that kind of connects these four trends is extraction over sustainability. And if you think about like a lot of key aspects of our economy right now are very much built around extraction. And if you follow the paper trail of why it feels like a lot of things have gotten significantly worse over the past couple years, it can mostly be traced back to private equity and private equity model and how private equity has infiltrated so many aspects of our daily life.
Proverbs 11:4, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness deliver from death. Let's get another one. Zephaniah chapter 1. Let's get it from 13. Therefore their goods shall become a booty, their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses but not inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards but not drink the wine thereof. So people are going to literally, their houses is going to be broken into, ran through. People are going to be ransacked and taken whatever. The stores are going to close. Businesses are going to close. Things are going to crumble. Water is drying up. Food is not going to be available. So people are going to have to go into other people's houses to stay afloat. All right? These people that have houses being built in 2030, 2034, 2040, you're not going to be able to inhabit them. Why? Because society is going to crumble. The great day of the Lord is near. It is near and hasten greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. Literally, military men are going to be afraid, all right, in these days to come. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord. And their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as dawn. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. But the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. So literally it's going to be so bad out here. All right, the Lord's going to allow for society to totally collapse. All right, he's going to allow for all hell to break loose. All right, and these people, they're not going to know what to do. Their government's not going to help them. All right, President Trump, he's not going to be able to help them. All right, why? Because the scripture says even the governments are going to be afraid. They're going to go in their bunkers, man. Why? Because when all these things are playing out, man, that's what these celebrities set up these bunkers for, is for that day of Jacob's trouble, when all hell is breaking loose. Let's get this.
Freshwater resources, and Canada has an additional 20. And the UN today declared that the global freshwater bankruptcy era has begun, where we've run out. So today we're going to talk about the water wars on my series, Actually What's Happening, where we get away from breaking news and we talk about big global trends and topics. I'm not saying that like the global water shortage is the main thing that's like impacting all of geopolitics right now, but I'm not saying that. And today the UN did release a report that said we're in global bankruptcy, and they're like saying basically like we've been saying there was a water shortage, and like that's a thing where we're pulling out more than we should, and we should probably be careful about that and watch that. And then later they were like, well, we're having a lot of water crises, which is like a one-time major event from a drought or whatever, and we should try to get back to normal. And now they're saying there's no going back to normal. We're in trouble. We need to make major changes. And they're like all these crazy things that are in this report that you should read. And they show this chart about water conflict on the rise that I think is like really important for all of us to watch, because look at how that is like going up so fast. And I started thinking like, who has the most freshwater resources in the world now? Probably. And you start looking around and you see that, wow, Canada has 20% of the freshwater resources globally. And 7% of those are renewable freshwater resources, which is a lot for the number of people out there. And then you look and you see that Greenland has 20% of the freshwater resources globally, if you count glaciers. And you start to wonder, maybe that's why these crazy pictures are being posted and why my country is acting insane. or at least it's a contributing factor, right? And when you start looking at how water impacts everyday life and especially politics places, you start to see things like this headline from The Guardian that shows that in Iran, there's been a major water shortage for several years. And they reached day zero back in December where basically they're out of water, right? And that's happened because of many years of damming and overusing their aquifers and mismanagement of water that's happened across many regimes. But the impact is that that water is being used for things like irrigation for crops, and also people have to drink that water, and it's used for a lot of purposes, and that increases the prices of a lot of things. And many people are now saying that is a major contributing factor to the protests that are happening in Iran because they're running out of clean drinking water. And scientists in South Korea just put out a report that showed that those day zero events that have happened in a few places around the world, South Africa and Mexico City, we've talked about recently, could happen in 3/4 of drought-prone areas on Earth before the end of the century. And I think it's important to remember that the Earth is mostly water, right? And less than 1% of global fresh water, which is 1% of all the water on Earth, is in surface waters, which is lakes and rivers and stuff like that. But we use, now stick with me here, it's a small percentage of all the water on Earth, but those surface waters, rivers and lakes and stuff like that, we use that for about 50% of what we use for fresh water around the world now. And so it's really important what happens to rivers and lakes and watershed and stuff like that. And this month I wanted to learn a little bit more about that. So I read this book, Is a River Alive, which was very informative. I don't know if it was my favorite book, but he, this author goes and...
So this world is gone, man. It's dried up. It's going down the drain. Like Elder Apostle Gabar always say, the world is literally circling the drain. It's over, man. All right, we're never going back to the new norm. We're never going back to make America great again. This place is finished, man. Amos 8:11. Behold, the days come, said the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land. Not a famine of bread, nor a thirst of water, even though that's what's coming. There's going to be a famine of bread. There's not going to be food out here like that. Only the elect are going to be able to eat. All right? Everybody else in America, they're going to suffer, man. 2/3 of our people, they're going to suffer. These heathen nations, they're going to suffer. That's left over here. There's going to be a shortage of water. Okay? What the brothers, what this Edomite is telling you. The brothers been telling you, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone been telling you, all these different stores, they're going to shut down. All right? But of hearing the words of the Lord. So it's going to be a famine of hearing Yahweh Shem Yahushai's word. Esau Edom's going to take the internet away. He's going to shut down all these different pages. He's going to take away that access. Amos 8:12, and they shall wander from sea to sea. You're going to go from place to place. And from the north even to the east, they shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord and shall not find it. So a lot of people are going to bug out. They're not going to know what's going on, what's happening, why this is happening, why this is going down. Amos 8:13, in that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst. And that's going to be from the scriptures. They're not going to be able to, get that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. They're not going to be able to quench, their souls. They're not going to be able to get the knowledge that's needed to be saved from here and redeemed. Okay, they're not going to get the names. They're not going to get the concept of the MOTB. They're not going to get, Israelite foreigners. Yahweh Shai being dark-skinned men. They're not going to get that, man. All right, so they're going to get caught out there. They're going to get left, all right, to those missiles. All right, let's get this.
United States attacks. Taliban will offer aid to Tehran if U.S. strikes Iran, group spokesperson has confirmed. And take a look, Iran and the United States flex their military might ahead of the nuclear talks in Geneva. We're hearing in the Strait of Hormuz right now, there are military drills going on. Iran is launching military drills, showing the United States their military might. Now, Iran, foreign minister in Geneva for U.S. talks as the IRGC holds drills in the Strait of Hormuz, as I mentioned. So we're hearing on one hand, we have the foreign minister preparing for that peace talk agreement tomorrow in Geneva. Yet at the same time, the IRGC is holding drills in the Strait of Hormuz, letting the United States know we are ready for retaliation if you attack us. Now, Iran's state media reports foreign minister will attend indirect talks with the United States. So we're going to see what's going to unfold here. Will we have a peace deal, or are we going to be entering into war? But according to Reuters, coming out today, the U.S. military is preparing for possible strikes on Iran if Trump orders the attacks. We're hearing that Donald Trump, I'm going to play for you the video footage, said, hey, we're sending a second military group out there, another aircraft carrier. They said, why? And he said, because if these talks fail, we're going to need them and we're going to use them. And take a look. The U.S. and Iran are to resume their nuclear talks, and Israel is pressing for the strike option. The nation of Israel is saying, strike Iran. We have a window of opportunity. Now is the time. Hit the IRGC.
Revelations 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, man. World War III is on the way, man. All right, that's one of the biggest prophecies. The MOTB, Jacob's Trouble, and World War III. Let's get this.
We once knew the economy we are never going back to normal. And what I mean by that is the economy that we once knew, the economy that our parents, grandparents, and even the generations before us by 5 to 10 years knew, we're never going to go back there. I saw a curator, and I'll tag her below, make a really good point about this subject of how we kind of live in a casino market, a casino economy where people are highly leveraged and basically running out of hope in regards to what they can accomplish in regards to job security, job opportunity, housing, children, etc., due to what's currently going on. And not to be scary or to fear monger, but it brings up a really good point of how the trajectory and those who will be able to kind of manage this headwind will survive over the next 5 to 10 years. I do hope that there is some clarity that does come and things do make sense, but at the end of the day, everything is for profit. No longer can a company grow by 1 to 2% a year without, and Wall Street and financing companies and private equity, rewarding that. Unfortunately, that's not how life works anymore. And the disparity from the top 10% to the 1% and everybody else is becoming extremely, extremely larger, and it's not getting any close, right? Because you have to also take into account, why would somebody who's in the top 1% care about and try to do things for the bottom 50% of people? That's just not how it works, right? And what was normal 10 years ago or even just 5 years ago will no longer be normal going forward. And we have to figure out ways to get around that, right? And that's why we're seeing the rise of gambling, predictive markets, people not having children, and things of that nature. So I just wanted to put that out there. How are you guys navigating that? What are your thoughts on?
This world is not ready for what is about to come. This world is about to experience the greatest collapse ever. You are about to see people lose their minds. Stores close, dollar crash, banks empty. People are in complete chaos, man. That's what's on the way. There's no more love, man. Only destruction is coming to Babylon the Great.
Shortage. And this doesn't just mean we need to start reserving water right now, because we are now entering an era where there is a water shortage. And this doesn't just mean drinking water. This means you won't be able to take a shower, do your laundry, do your dishes, brush your teeth, or even give your pets clean water. And that is only a handful of examples. And the reason why there is becoming a shortage of clean drinking water is really because of climate change and AI, which is something that we can all control and contribute to. And ever since AI came out, I have always told people that this is going to be terrible for artists, and I didn't even know this was going to be this bad. So not only
it's coming, man.
This is why they want you to attach your ID to all of your online accounts, not to protect the children, not to make sure that the wrong person doesn't watch the wrong adult video. This is why they want your actual identity attached to all of your online accounts. This is why they want you to attach your ID to all of your online.
So federal judges across the country are now warning that ICE's lawlessness is beginning to strain the entire judicial system. And when we look at what these judges are saying, it shows that it is happening at literally every single stage of the process. It starts with an illegal arrest, which we have had thousands and thousands of. Then these judges are ordering people to be released, and ICE is holding them anyways, sometimes for weeks after the rulings. Judges are ordering people to not be deported, and then ICE deports them anyways. So judges are having to track people not only across the states, but across countries. ICE has been transferring people very quickly and very quietly in a way that makes it nearly impossible for these judges and these attorneys to keep track of them. Once people are finally released, they are being dumped from detention centers that are far from their homes without any of their personal belongings, without their phones and their wallets and their documentation, even proper clothing. So these judges have to step in yet again in order to get their personal belongings back and in order to ensure that their orders are actually being followed. So we now have federal judges telling us this isn't about immigration, this is about due process. These courts are having to constantly monitor and correct a federal agency that is supposed to be bound by the law. And they are treating these laws as suggestions, which obviously puts our entire legal system on very unsteady grounds. And we know that historically, once due process erodes for one group of people, it doesn't stay contained. So federal judges across the country are now warning that ICE's lawlessness is beginning to strain the entire judicial system. And when we look at what these judges are saying, it shows that it is happening.
This is important if you are an American who has criticized ICE on social media, because the federal government is asking big tech to identify Americans who criticize ICE on social media. According to the New York Times, the Department of Homeland Security has sent hundreds of requests to these social media platforms to release information on many different people. Those requests went to everyone from Google to Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, and on other platforms such as Reddit and Discord. Discord's important to know because starting in March, you need to actually upload a copy of your ID in order to see quote-unquote restricted content, in which, yes, looking at violent videos is under that. In the subpoenas that DHS has sent to these companies, they're looking for names, emails, phone numbers, and data location for anyone who is unnamed on social media. AKA, these companies are being asked to unmask who these users are, even though they don't want to be known on social media. One of the key issues here is that these are administrative subpoenas, not warrants, which means that a judge does not need to sign off on them before they're being issued to these companies. And while some companies have complied and given this information, other companies are giving warnings to their users saying, hey, you need to do this, this, and this about this subpoena. DHS argues that they need this information because they need to be able to protect their ICE agents in the field, and some of these accounts are putting information out there. But where do you sit in all of this? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll be sure to keep you updated on this, so please do share my video.
Folks, Kevin Durant may have just been exposed big time. So for context, just before the All-Star game this last weekend, a bunch of leaked messages from an account called Get Off My Blank and Get Higher came out in what has now officially been dubbed the
NATO is warning that any attack that Russia does on the Baltics is actually going to result in deep strikes inside of Russia. That is what the Estonian foreign minister just delivered during an interview to the Telegraph during the sideline of the Munich Security Council meetings. To quote him, he goes on to say, "We'll bring the war to Russia and we'll have very deep strikes very far into Russia. We know exactly what to do." Adding later, that is why we're now speeding up our investments and developing our capabilities. It's why we're now investing 5% of our GDP on defense in our region. This all comes on many different changes. One, the change that NATO, well, their airspaces keep on getting violated by the Russians. And I think we're slowly realizing that a lot of countries are not prepared.
So Lord willing, us was edifying, man. It's just, it goes to show you, man, we here. It's only going to get worse from here, man. With that being said, I want to give all praise, honor, and infinite glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the great millstone, who that teach what taught us truth. And a hearty shalom to the Akim and Akhlaq. Shalom.